And it'd be interesting to get your take on this also as a Chinese American guy, right? Like, but there's always this element of what we should do, right? I think especially as Asian folks growing up, like ABCs growing up in the States, right? I think there was this always like layer of our parents' expectations or, the kind of story or narrative of what we should do. And that was always a big thing. And I'm curious about whether maybe I just succumbed to that more. Maybe I was just like, man, I need to do this, right? I need to follow the book. I need to.
That was your gospel.
I wonder.
Well, you are, okay, what little I know about you, but it seems from the outside, it seems you are the shining, successful example of that.
Oh, I'm not.
I mean, well, look at you now. I mean, you're the chief of mental health at United Family, right? You're also the president of the Shanghai International Mental Health Association.
Yeah.
Did I say that correctly?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I mean, that is like your shining success story of like what Asian parents would want from their child, right? Right?
Maybe there's a
doctor.
veneer. Like, no, well, see, I'm not a physician, so there's also there's something.
Okay, so
there,
you think
right?
that matters?
I mean, you should have been a fly on the wall. I think it does, because you should have been a fly on the wall when I told my parents that I wanted to study psychology.
What was their response?
I think my mom's response was something like, psychology? What does that mean? Like, you're gonna, I can tell who's crazy. Why do you need to study? I can tell who's crazy. He's crazy. She's not. I can tell. Like, what do you have to go to school for? What is that about? What even does psychology mean? Right. And it was, I think, the fear, because my parents used to say, man, I hope they don't listen to this. But my parents used to say, look, George, you have complete freedom to be anything you want to be, as long as it's a doctor, lawyer, or businessman. Right. And I think to them, they really genuinely felt like they were giving me freedom. Right. But obviously to me, that was a really narrowly defined definition of it. But, it was their fear, right? They're immigrant. Like, I think, are your parents immigrants too? Yeah. Like many of us ABCs of a certain generation, I think, we all come from immigrant families who spent a lot of their time in fear. And that fear was something like, am I going to make it in this new place? Because we probably left the old place kind of, under a complicated history, right? Mm-hmm. For complicated reasons, having to do with pain and stuff like that. And so now going to this new place, am I going to make it in a place that does not look like me, that does not speak my language? And now I'm going to have children. Are they going to make it? And I'm really, really afraid. And that causes these immigrants to like clamp down and say, and to be pretty narrow.
Like there's no room for like trial and error. There's no room for experimentation.
Yeah.
You just got to go with like what you know.
You got to go with what you know. It's like when I went to college, when I was preparing to go to college, right? The people around me, a lot of my peers were like, hey, we're going to do these college visitations. We're going to set up these visits and just kind of go see what they're like, see if I like it. And when I brought that idea up to my parents, they were like, what? It was like the most alien thing ever. Because they're like, why do you need to go visit? What does that matter? You're going to go to the best college that you get into. And by best, we mean whatever U.S. News and World Report says, right? Like the ranking, not the best in terms of like the weather or the programs or like
all those other variables don't matter. It's just whatever's ranked the highest.
Do not matter. So what's the point of going to visit as if that's going to have any impact, right?
Wow.
And it was almost like also this thing where like, I think college is the first time that a lot of us, at least for me, right? Like I was going to spread my wings and sort of be my own person, right? And I think my parents, coming from a more traditional sort of Chinese or Asian background, were kind of like, what, the idea of where you want to go to college, like that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is where are we as a family going with this? Right? So the definition of the word, quote unquote, I was like different. Like I thought of I as in me, myself, George, like in my own skin and in my own body. And they thought of it very differently. They thought of the word George or I as being much more connected to this whole group. Right? So the fact that you, George, would solely choose where you want to go to college is kind of like
Like that was an alien idea.
Yeah, you're
it was like a
speaking Greek.
selfish idea.
You're selfish, yeah, or just like completely foreign.